I don't know how many of you remember the snow we had a little over a month ago, but we did have a little bit more snow here than Grand Isle had, right? What do you see in this picture? Snow, that's right. You see some people enjoying the snow. You see the dog enjoying the snow. Those people are Connor and McKenna and Archer. And what you can't see is somewhere in the middle of here is Rowan, but they're enjoying the snow. And we all enjoy a good snow down here, right? Raise your hand if you enjoyed the snow. It was a good time, right? But oftentimes, like not just here, but around the world, when snow comes, especially down here, things happen, right? I know George's pipes burst the other day when the snow came, and he and Ray were trying to figure some things out. They couldn't quite get everything done. They called Carl, and Carl came and helped them out. But have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to do, and somebody said, just Google it, right? Have you ever Googled anything? Raise your hand before. Yeah, we've all Googled something, right? And the phrase, just Google it, just Google it. Or you go on YouTube because you can watch a video to figure out how things work, right? You check out movies, you check out how things are done, you try to learn something, how to do plumbing. But there are some things that you just can't Google, that YouTube doesn't help with. And we're going to talk about that in a minute as you're getting on that keyboard and you're typing away. Just Google it. You're looking, you're searching, trying to find something. And sometimes you can look and look and look, and you're just not finding the answer you're looking for, right? You've all done it. There's countless amount of information on the internet. But some things that just still you can't find because you need something a little bit different. So this morning we're going to be talking about how to survive and to thrive. If you type that into Google, you're going to see some things. You're going to see some answers come up. But I want to talk about how to survive in difficult relationships with our family and friends. I talked a little bit about this last Sunday morning with our adult Bible study, filling in for my dad who was sick last week. But if you've ever had a difficult relationship with family or friends or coworkers, raise your hand. Yeah, everybody in here's had it. Scotty's like, no, never, not me. But we've all had it, right? We've all been in those situations where we're trying to figure out how to not just survive a relationship, but to thrive, to have a relationship with our spouse or with our children or with our friends or our coworkers that goes from being difficult, because you can only avoid things for so long. I can avoid some things at work, but I live with Jennifer. I want to figure out how to have a good marriage. I have 4 children that I raised together with Jennifer. There were some times we were just surviving. We weren't thriving. And so you want to thrive in your relationships with your children and your family and friends. But what about frustrations at work? If you've ever had frustrations at work, raise your hand. I'm the preacher. I'm raising my hand. I was on a retreat this weekend. I'm just telling you what. We had a great time. But, there are times at work that you get frustrated. Maybe you need more money. Maybe you need more hours. Maybe you don't like your job. Maybe you like your job, but they're working your tail end off. Maybe you're working 2 jobs. Maybe you see a way to do a job better, and somebody else sees a way to do a job harder. And it's just frustrations at work. Maybe it's the coffee they serve at work. It could be anything. But we have frustrations at work sometimes. What about economic uncertainty? Who's ever robbed Peter to pay Paul? We've all been there, right? And we live in a culture where economic uncertainty has been around forever, right? It's always been around. We've been through depressions. We've been through ups and downs as a culture. We've been ups and downs as individuals and as families. But I'm telling you, economic uncertainty is one of the leading causes of divorce because of the financial strain in relationships. It gets to the financial strain because causes frustrations at work, because you're not making enough money or you don't like your job, which causes difficulties at home, and it just escalates, right? Political turmoil. There's been political turmoil all the way back to the garden when man first decided God wasn't going to be their king. We have political turmoil now, not just here, but around the world, locally. Political turmoil at work. Political turmoil in cities, in counties, in parishes, in states, in governments around the world. Political turmoil has always existed. And in our culture, it tends to divide people. It causes problems. World conflicts. Russia and Ukraine, Vietnam, Saudi Arabia, World War II, Korea. I could go on and on, right? World conflicts have happened and will continue to happen till God comes back. Who's experienced the loss of a loved one? You feel like the breath just kicked out, taken away sometimes. As men and women of faith, we believe that they're in a better place, and we know that. But that doesn't erase the hurt. That doesn't erase the empty seat at the dinner table. That doesn't erase the empty seat in the living room. That doesn't erase the empty seat when you're driving across town. It doesn't erase the person you're used to talking to and seeing day in and day out. How do you survive? How do you forgive? How do you forgive when you've been betrayed? How do you forgive when someone has stabbed you in the back? How do you forgive when someone has abused you? How do you forgive when they haven't asked for forgiveness? How do you do it? Now, I can Google all this stuff and I'm going to find some answers, but it's just words on paper. How do you keep no record of wrongs? You hurt me. I'm going to bury the hatchet, but I'm going to leave the handle hanging out. That's why they write songs about it. Jesus can say, Father, forgive them. They know what they do. 1 Corinthians 13, which is going to be part of Larry and Kay's wedding next weekend. She was telling me about that as part of the decorations. But there's this idea that love keeps no record of wrongs. That's all well and good, right? But how do you do it? With people that you see on a regular basis. Whether it's a spouse or a child or a friend or a coworker. What do you do? How to? Well, you can Google it. Or you can find somebody that's been through the storm. You see, sailors a long time ago started charting out ways across the world, traveling the 7 seas, looking for destinations. And the ocean is filled with ships that have gone down, with good sailors on them, with families on them, with business people on them, whatever. Ships have gone down in our 7 seas. The oceans are filled with them. It's a graveyard. But there are some ships that continue to go out. Now, I don't know how a captain gets a crew when the last ship that went out didn't come back in. I think it helps to find a captain who has been through the storm and has made it back, who was able to keep his calm in the middle of the storm, the chaos all around him, and was able to get the crew to not to hide in the down below deck, but to get them to go out into the storm and do their job. Because they all had to work together for the ship to make it to its destination and back while going through a storm. I want to find somebody who's done that. Now, the operative thing here, we're all Christians, right? We're children of God in here. And we're going to say, well, it's God. And that's true. But I want us to look closer. I want us to really think about, do I trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not on my understanding? In all my ways, do I submit to Him? Am I letting Him make my path straight when these times come? Because I've been in them, I've gotten through them, and I'm going to go through them again. How about you? Because everything on that list is going to rise again. It's going to happen. And that list that we did a few minutes ago is going to have even more things that I don't have on there. We're going to go through some situations that are uncharted, some situations we haven't been through yet, and then some that we have. So when we're facing these uncharted situations, these difficult situations, we need to view them as opportunities for growth and for learning. I tell people all the time, when I was at Mackay Ford, I did not like it. You've had jobs you don't like. But at some point, something clicked in me. God, what are you trying to teach me in this situation? When I'm going through struggles, when I'm going through trials, when I'm going through a place I haven't been yet, think about the people of Israel when they left Egypt. They had been slaves for 400 plus years. They didn't know what it was like to be free. They didn't know what it was like to go when they were ready to go. They didn't know what it was like to have a God fight for them, but He did. He destroyed the gods of Egypt. He brings them into the wilderness, and He provides them and settles them down in a place where there is no water. Right off the bat. And they get frustrated because this is uncharted. We're in the wilderness. We've never been here before, and there's nothing to drink. And God's going to take us places sometimes where there feels like there's nothing to drink. There's nothing to eat in our life. There's going to be times or situations in our life where we're frustrated. But I want you to understand that there's an opportunity for growth and for learning. One, to grow and learn in our trust of God. To rely on Him. But to also learn and rely on each other. Because in that, Joshua and Moses and Caleb and Aaron and Mary and others began to rise up as leaders in the midst of the trials. And the people would look to them for answers. They would look to God for answers. But through it all, the cloud by day and the fire by night, God led them. We're going to go through some difficult, uncharted situations in your life. McKenna and Connor have an 8-week-old baby. 9 weeks today, I think, right? Yesterday, 9 weeks old. They've never had a baby before. They understand the first 8 weeks now. They don't know about 11, 12, 13 weeks and 16 years. Right? There are things in life that are new to us. And they're uncharted. Well, Jennifer and I raised 4 kids. They all started off babies, right? And grew. If you were ever a baby, raise your hand. All right. So, we've all started there, right? Each day is a new day to learn something and to grow. But it's new to us. Anita's had children. Missy's had children. Lauren hasn't yet. And when that day comes, it's going to be an opportunity for growth and learning, as an example. It's an opportunity to be teachable. So often in our culture, we run into people who think they know it all already. And Tripp mentioned age earlier. Sometimes the older we get, the more we think we know. Sometimes when we're young, we think we know it all. When I was a sophomore in seminary, finished up our sophomore year, one of our professors, Jim Burry, one of my dad's Greek professors, he gave us a book called The Young Theologian. We're like, what is this for? It's about this thick. And the purpose of the book, it was about usually people in your seminary, by the time you're finished your sophomore year, you think you owe everything. You know what? They were right. We had studied the Bible for 2 years and thought we knew it all. We didn't know anything because we're just learning along the way. So it's an opportunity when you're facing uncharted and difficult situations, like Lewis and Clark, when they were traveling from across looking for the Northwest Passage. They get to a place where they're expecting the Pacific Ocean to be, and they come over the crest of the mountain, and guess what? There's more mountains. They get to a place where the map stops. And you're going to get to a place just like I have where the map stops. And you're going to have to learn new ways of doing things, new ways to respond. The Israelites had to learn to trust in God. They had to learn how to act. They had to learn how to worship. They had to learn how to respond to a king. They had to learn how to work together. They had to learn how to be free. The disciples had to learn how to be followers of Christ, to learn and to teach, just like we do. But you need to learn to adjust your plans and strategies to learn new information. It's hard for us to let go of our plans for our life, especially when they start falling apart. Because all of a sudden we feel like it's on us, and sometimes it is. But sometimes our plans just aren't working because we didn't know how to plan for something we'd never done before. Fair? So you got to adjust and create a new strategy with new information. But where's the information coming from? Google on some things. But there are things in life I need someone else's guidance on. It's an opportunity to be proactive in seeking knowledge and wisdom. How many of you went to school, and it's different for everybody, I know. How many of you went to school, especially in elementary and junior high, because you had to? How many went because you wanted to? A few of you, right? It's not just sitting back and waiting for it to come to me. You ever notice some people, they're stuck in life, they just sit and think, if I just sit here long enough, something will happen? That doesn't work very often. Well, my dryer's broke. That happened to us a couple of times now. And I was like, man, I guess we have to buy a new one. And Jennifer's like, no, Google it. You can learn anything on Google, YouTube it. And she found me the video. It says, here, you can do this. And I was like, I don't want to do it. Just buy a new one. Well, we have now fixed the same problem twice, but that dryer has now lasted 3 years longer than it would have. We've saved money on it, right? I had to be willing to seek out, and in this case, she sought it out, new knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge alone is not enough. The evil one has knowledge. Wisdom's learning what to do with it and acting on it. But here's the catch: from proven and reliable sources. You know, one of the things I do with young married couples, when Chloe and Jonathan were getting married, and I was sitting in here talking to them, I asked them a question. What's the strongest marriage you know? Oh, yeah. And they gave me a name. So how long have they been married? 2 years. I'm like, well, all right. But here's the thing. They had a relationship with that couple. And that couple seems happy. But that couple's not been through the loss of a loved one yet. Or loss of jobs. They haven't been through economic turmoil. They've not been through infidelity. They've not been through fill in the blank. Doesn't mean that they're not a good source for the first 2 years. But I want to find somebody like Harold and Millie who've been married 66 years. Who, when things got hard, they didn't quit. They may have felt like it. There may have been some days you get on that side of the room, I'm going to get on this side of the room. We're not going to talk for a while. Or it may have been like Les and Anita with 50, how many years now? 58 years of marriage. I want to learn from someone like Les and Anita who've been through it. They've been through global conflict. They've been through having a little and having a lot. They've been through raising children who are now adults and grandchildren and now great-grandchildren. They know what it's like. And here's why it matters to me. They're still here. People like Randy and Jamie who have lost 2 children on her birthday. And they're still faithful. Not that they didn't have doubts, that they didn't struggle, but marriages who survived that. Or I want to hear from women and men who've been through the horrors of divorce and family breaking up, who are still here. Why? Because trials are going to come. Jesus tells us that. They're going to happen. I want to talk to people who have survived the storm, who may be in a life raft right now, but at least they're in a raft, and they're still here holding on to God, who can show me how to get to the next level. I want to connect with people who are proven and trusted individuals. Y'all all thought you knew me when I moved here, but you really didn't. You knew my name, Kenny Wayne. You knew about me through my mom and dad. You knew about me through Tripp and Spencer and McKenna and Corbin staying here in the summer times and us visiting and my dad saying, you know what, I get to sleep in this morning. Kenny Wayne, you want to preach? Okay. But through that, relationships have grown. And it hasn't always been easy. So I hope one of the things you've learned about me is in hard times, I don't run. And one of the reasons I don't is my dad taught me what happens when you run. He taught me what happens when you stay. One of the reasons is you in this room are men and women who have overcome trial and adversity. And your strength and in your encouragement and your love, it helped me. Does that make sense? So you want to connect with people that are proven and trusted who offer guidance. The key word there is offer. I hear so many people, especially our older Christians, not just here, but around the country, say, I got nothing to offer. I've aged out. I don't know what to do. Here's the thing to think about. The older you get, culture changes. The culture that Les and Anita grew up with is different than the one today, except they're growing up in it, just like the rest of us. But guidance. Be willing to come along and ask someone, hey, would you mentor me? Or maybe that's what God was talking about in Titus when he says, older women teach the younger. And older men teach the younger how to. It's relationship-based. You've been through the struggles and the trials. And that's a two-way street because now some of our young people are facing situations that we didn't have to deal with when we were younger. And we can learn from them too. Encouragement. Tripp mentioned this last week, right? Don't give up meeting together, as some of you in the habit of do, but come together to encourage one another and spur one another on towards love and good works. Well, how do I forgive and love somebody who doesn't love me? You help me do that. We help each other do that. I can read it, but I would much rather learn it up somebody who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Who can tell me where they struggled, where they messed up along the way, and where God helped them redirect and made some changes. Doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes, but at least I'm learning from someone who's done it. And emotional support. Because the world's hard. When I come up on things that seem overwhelming, it's important to have someone who can sit with you and walk with you and show you how to be still and know that He is God. To know that sometimes God answers is not yet. Sometimes God answers, I'm trying to teach you a lesson, and when you learn it, then I'll move you to the next place. But until you learn it, we're staying right here. So sometimes we take on the burden, as Tripp mentioned earlier, we got to learn to set it down. Sometimes we don't want to sit down, we want to hold on to it. So we need each other to encourage each other. Say, look, give that burden to God. I don't know how. How do I forgive somebody who's hurt me? I don't know how. That's where we need brothers and sisters who've been there, done that, to be willing to be vulnerable. There was a time in my life when I didn't know how to either, but this is what God did for me. He may do it differently for you, but this is how God got me through and taught me how to. One of the things God taught me about how to forgive people who don't ask for it are people that drive you crazy, who are constantly just coming to, always have something wrong with them, always complaining, who won't do what they're asked to do. You give them directions, you give them a way to do things, and they're like, I ain't doing that. You know people like that? Raise your hand. Yeah. If you are that person, raise your hand. Because here's the thing, that is us, every single one of us before a holy God. The person that drives you nuts, the person that makes you want to pull your hair out, and you're like, why can't they get it, is you and me before a holy God. I mean, think about it. How many times did Abraham mess up? How many times did Paul mess up? How many times did Peter, Paul, and Mary mess up, right? They messed up. But yet God was loving and pursued and encouraged. We learn to do that. You can read about it in the scriptures, and you should. It gives wisdom. So when you're talking to people who have proven and trusted, does what they tell you to do match with Scripture? If it doesn't, pause. Because God's never going to tell you, well, your husband and wife are not being nice, go cheat on them. He's not going to do that. God, Scriptures, well, that was my wife, that's my husband, I just hit him while he's sleeping. I have had people in my office, not from here on television, not from here, but I had people come in my office who, while they were sleeping, their spouse hit them in the head. True story. God doesn't tell us to take, He says turn the other cheek, but not when you're sleeping. You got to set boundaries. Step out of the house, get somewhere safe, and learn to work through it as best you can. That's an extreme example, but you get my point, right? Proverbs 16:31 says, gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in righteous life. If you have gray hair, stand up. Now, look around the room real quick. Now, some of y'all are dyeing your hair. That doesn't count. I mean, y'all sit down now. Here's my point. One of the strengths of our congregation, our family here, is we got a lot of gray hair. A lot of it. And gray hair is earned. You may dye it. You can do what you want. That's fine. But there is wisdom gained in a righteous life. It is a crown of glory. Or wisdom is with the aged in understanding the length of days. Now, if you know some old folks that are just a dingbat, raise your hand. I do. So it doesn't mean that they're all wise. But the point is, the longer you've lived, wisdom is with the age in understanding in length of days. What I thought I knew about marriage on December 14th, 1991 is a lot different than what I know about marriage today. Wisdom has been learned with age and understanding with length of days. Does that make sense? Find somebody like that. Romans 12:12, rejoice in hope. Faith is being sure of what I hope for and certain of what I do not see. As Tripp mentioned last week, it's not a hope that I hope I get this. It's a, yeah, I got it. I want it. It's mine. Rejoice in that hope. Earlier, shout hallelujah. Why? Because I have that hope. Because Jesus, if no one else does, Jesus showed me how to love, how to forgive, how to make it through uncertain times, how to make it through changes. God showed me how. And with the Holy Spirit living in me, as was talked about during communion, there is discernment and a counselor there, whether anybody else helps me or not. But it's a whole lot easier when my brothers and sisters come alongside me and help. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation. We live at a time where more and more people, regardless of age, don't have patience. People talk all the time about how children have no patience. Well, I'm here to tell you a lot of gray-haired men and women I know don't have patience either. They want it right now. They're tired of waiting on theirs. But there are a lot others who have showed me patience by not giving up in hard times. There's a peace about them. It says, yeah, the storm's strong. Captain, how long is the ship going to be bouncing around in the waves? Until the storm stops. What are we supposed to do? Keep working. You're a sailor. Keep sailing. Do your job. If you quit, we're going down. Let the Holy Spirit bring peace into your life. It's part of the fruit of the Spirit. Look for men and women who, when things are getting rough, aren't complaining about everything, who aren't talking about how bad everything is, but who show a peace about them. I'm not talking about people who don't acknowledge the storm. They're not acknowledging the storm. They're not very wise. Acknowledge the storm, but acknowledge that we're going to be okay. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego faced the storm, right? They're about to go into the fiery furnace, and the king says, when I blow the horns, bow down, or I'm going to throw you in the fire. And their answer was, "O king, our God is able to save us. But even if he doesn't, we're not going to bow down to the image you have made." Where did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego learn that? If you go to Daniel chapter 1, you see that God gave them wisdom in the very beginning because they trusted in him like Daniel did. And all throughout their life, God was consistent, and they leaned on God, and they encouraged each other. And when they were in the fire, they were in the storm, the king looks down and says, "I see one like the Son of Man with them." God was with them. There's peace there. I want to be around people like that. The 17th century minister Thomas Watson says this, To be thankful in affliction is a work peculiar to a saint. Think about that. Rejoice in trials is what we're told, right? Rejoice. Peter says, because our faith of greater worth than silver and gold is being proved genuine, even though refined by fire. You have to wait a while, but you're going to receive in time what God promised. But to be thankful in affliction is a work peculiar to a saint. Every bird can sing in the spring, but some birds will sing in the dead of winter. It's hard to find food in the wintertime if you're a bird. It's cold. The winds are blowing. The storm is coming. The nights are long. Everyone almost can be thankful in prosperity, but a true saint can be thankful in adversity. You see, the sailor that survived the storm is now a better sailor. The crew that survived the storm is now a better crew. And the men and women of God who have survived all that the devil can throw at them are stronger for it. Families that overcome trials and struggles become stronger families because they didn't quit. Not that there weren't times that they struggled, not that there weren't times in fear, but that when they were, a brother or a sister comes along and says, let me encourage you, come on. We're going to get through this. You need to get back up on that rope and take care of the sail. You need to get back over here on the wheel and keep steering us. You need to be back over here. You do your job. We're working together. We need you. Which means when someone doesn't show up for a day or two, call them. Check on them. If you know where they are, that's different, right? But when you don't know, check on them. It helps you be encouraged, right? So speaking of our older members here of New Iberia, you have lived longer than most of us here at NICOC, and you've encountered different diversity of life experiences. I'm talking to you right now, you gray hairs that stood up earlier, and those who didn't. Judy, I know you got gray hair there somewhere. No, you're always looking jet black. I see it. Because of this, you have a wealth of wisdom to share. Don't be like the ship that sinks and takes the treasure with it. God is the treasure in you, like jars of clay. Let Him take what He's done in your life so that others can see the light and to see a way, so that they can thrive, not just survive, so that we can overcome our struggles and live a life that God has called us to. I want to be around men and women who live this verse, Isaiah 40:31. Read it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now sing it with some authority. Read it with some authority now on 3. With some authority when you read it. 1, 2, 3. That is a promise from God above. If you would, let's go ahead and be standing. Why are you rejoicing this morning? In the midst of your struggles, in the midst of whatever it may be. Who can you mentor? Who can you ask for help?